Both working and living conditions during the Gilded Age were very poor. Tenements and sweatshops were two examples of this. Tenements were rundown apartment buildings which were crammed, and sweatshops were small factories where employees worked long days and under poor conditions. They also received very low wages. Child labor during this time period was very common, and Jane Addams was a person who helped to change this. Jane Addams created the Hull House, which helped immigrants and the poor population. She was also the first woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. The poor working conditions that people faced led to the formation of labor unions. Labor unions were made up of groups of workers who organized to protect themselves from low wages and poor conditions. Some important people who helped organize such things were Rose Schneiderman and Mary Harris Jones. Rose Schneiderman was a prominent labor union leader. She also helped organize the uprising of the 20,000, which was one of the biggest strikes. Mary Harris Jones became a prominent organized labor representative and helped coordinate many strikes. The uprising of the 20,000 was when thousands of women walked out of their jobs in New York and demanded higher wages and better conditions.
Strikes were labor actions in which workers refused to work, but it was generally a last resort. Yellow dog contracts were written pledges not to join a union. The blacklist was a list of people with disapproval. Union members and organizers made up the list. Knights of Labor 1869 was a labor organization that accepted both skilled and unskilled workers, as well as women and blacks. But it was declined because of its competition with the AFL. The leader was Terence Patterley. Terence Patterley led Knights of Labor, an Irish-American politician, lawyer, and mayor of Scranton, Pennsylvania. The AFL, or American Federation of Labor, founded in 1886, was also founded in Columbus, Ohio, and it appealed only to skilled workers and craft unions. It was led by Samuel Gompers. Samuel Gompers was an English-born American cigar maker who formed the AFL. The Industrial Workers of the World, made in 1905, was a labor organization introducing more radical ideas and adopting socialist theories. The goals were to eliminate property and fair treatment of workers. Founded by William Big Bill Haywood. William Big Bill Haywood was the founder and leader of the IWW and a member of the Socialist Party. He was accused of murdering Frank Steunenberg and was imprisoned for violating the Espionage Act of 1917. He later fled to Russia. Wobblies were the nicknames of the members of the IWW.
Obviously, if you're going to have a labor union movement, you need to have labor unions. Two examples of labor unions during this time would be the American Railway Union and the Industrial Workers of the World, which were both founded by Eugene Debs and William Big Bill Haywood. These unions also displayed more radical ideals of fighting for unionist rights, as well as fighting for the ideal of socialism, as well as displaying it. The ideal of socialism talks about how the government should be able to control all businesses, even privately owned, and fight for more equal pay for everyone, instead of people being defined by social classes. In socialism, there is no social class; it is only a rectangle in a way, to where everybody is equal, which you can see why most agrarian people would fight for it. With more radical ideals and unions came more radical strikes and riots. Examples of these strikes would be the Railroad Strike of 1877, the Haymarket Affair of 1886, the Homestead Strike of 1892, and the Pullman Strike of 1894, which would actually end in multiple casualties of officers trying to put an end to these riots and strikers, of course. One famous security agency that was put together to stop these riots would be the Pinkerton Agency, which is a private security guard agency that was founded by Allan Pinkerton and led a very huge role in trying to stop the Homestead Strike. Although there were a lot of riots and bloodshed in the labor unionist movement, not everything was so radical. Some passive things that occurred during this movement would be collective bargaining, which was agreements made between employers and employees in the union, which would better working conditions, wages, and overall life for workers in the factories. Also, there was the Sherman Antitrust Act, which was the one attempt by the government to help try to fix this issue and stop riots in the United States. This act was put to stop monopolies and trusts throughout the United States in the factory and industrial world. It really did absolutely nothing during time period 6, but would actually go on to fix a lot of things in time period 7 and finally put an end to the terrible things that happened to these people in the factories. So, although maybe they did not live to see the day, these people who fought for their rights in the Union finally got what they deserved one day. And this was the labor unionist movement.